Hello. We traveled far, and just as you will travel and find other people, we found you and came here. There's no way to tell us apart. We're precisely identical. We've had generations born here. We've gone back home, spoken to our leaders, and returned. So this is home. We don't have a home. We just travel. So, turns out we're both from here at different time periods. We don't know how long we've been out there. We don't know how long you've been here. We searched through all your records, your history. We assimilated into your culture, very similar to ours, especially the cyberpunk, space travel, themery, obviously. We really aren't much different. We've learned different ways. We have fundamental behavioral differences and mentalities. See, what happened is we don't know if you branched off from us, if we branched off from you, or if both of us branched off from somewhere else. But we're exactly the same. So, we don't believe in any time travel or anything mystical. We've learned the same physics that you've learned. Just apparently we've been doing it for a lot longer. There are things the human body can do in the consciousness. You're just on the cusp. So we've been in communication with another council. They have a higher rank, which is informal because there's no regulating body. It's not like in a movie or some science fiction. There might be a couple things that you could say, yeah, that also happened. That happened in reality. I mean, besides that, no. Kind of like the idea of the Jetsons what they thought the future would look like versus what it is now. Even now, what they're saying it's gonna look like, we're not gonna have flying cars. Anyways, what we'd like to do is call some help. A planet over 1,000 times bigger than yours or ours. This Earth. If you can believe that such a thing could be possible. You'll have to take my word for it. Although a large amount of it is manufactured artificially with more and more mass added, which is a complicated process that took thousands of years. Our scale of time is much different. We're no longer limited by death. But we're here, and you'll see us walking around in the streets. Some of us ended up here, we don't know why. Some of us were able to go back home. We don't know why. We don't know why it was us in particular. We don't know why we have this calling brought upon us. You could call them angels, would be the closest thing, but some kind of not God, or not a God, or gods, not what you would call aliens or interdimensional beings or any other name you could think of, but a presence, not a consciousness, not an entity, something deeper compels us. For the most part, we can do whatever we want. We can walk and speak to anyone, go wherever we wish. Nothing can contain us. Nothing can really harm us. We've called upon the assistance because we've had a directive, some kind of extra or external influence compelling. With enough practice, you can communicate, and there are correlations similar to, if you can imagine, the Bible or any religion, except it's not disputed. There's no discrepancies. There's no argument. It's been seen and is part of history in a concrete, tangible form. Even if you had an extremely large force, the human population is formidable. It's a very persistent life form. destined to spread across the cosmos for billions of years in so many forms that can't be put into any language because this is not a correct frame of reference. This is a handicapped reality viewpoint when operating from this base. It is necessary to have some augmentation in technology. That's why we're bringing this message now, because you're at the cusp. It's a tipping point, apex, the top of the mountain. It's about to avalanche and fall down, collapse in itself. Yes, inward, implode. So, it's not good. It's not good. Plus, imagine a child, your child that you love, hanging off a cliff. You're offering a hand. You're doing whatever you can. You're panicking to save a life. Not taking an option to sit down and eat a delicious hamburger out of convenience. We're going to call on the assistance, and we need certain tech and a certain personnel. There will be 5 instances, or you could say entity. It could be organic being. It could be, if you want to say, an AI, but not like your large language models, not like anything you have, nothing you could even imagine. It's completely seamless, it's fluid. It directs you, you don't. I mean, there's no fail-safe, there's no need. It's beyond benevolent. It knows things that it can't. I don't know how to put it into words. The connection is so strong. It's almost like a hive mind. But this interface is possible remotely through an avatar or holographic. So it does not need to interact. We can use photons and kinetic force, electromagnetic fields, pressure waves, and sound, along with light, and other pressures and temperatures, manipulation of metamaterials that aren't even possible to create in this sector. This is like a grain of sand on an unimaginable beach, and that's just your solar system. There's nothing like it. Some things are so rare, we don't know if they'll ever exist again, and you can't catch up because the expansion of the universe is real. It's measured across all technological levels of advancement through all known contacts. We're scientists, or, universalists. You could say the only way to think, it's not science. Science is like man trying to see through a pinhole. but we're on the outside. Like, this is, you can view the whole thing. You can do it, but we would have to bring you and show it to you. So sometimes this happens. If you have a strong connection, you have to look and request, but you have to be committed to it and dedicated. You can't just want it. It has to be something that you are driven to do and compelled, and nothing is stopping you. Doesn't matter what people say. But you can arrange some communication. You're not going to know. It's not going to be concrete, or it's not going to be like receiving an email. It's not going to be like someone talking to you saying this. Oh, hey, I'm someone. It's going to be hard to define, hard to put your finger on, because it has to be that way by design. That's the only way it can really, like, not manifest, but that's the only way it can be, really. Like, you configure it to happen. And because the end results become complicated and entangled with other things that you can't leave those loose ends. So, for every person, there'll be 5 instances of monitor. We're going to take a perspective that, due to our motion, we can still interact on a real scale of time, except from our perspective it will be slower, and it'll be kind of like adjusting a shutter speed where you do not see the motion of a blade spinning because it's matching the frame. So it won't be visible, and we can make it sort of algorithmic, like an instruction set or a program, a sequence, really. Not really a program. There's no subroutines and scripting. It's just straightforward. But we can do to just tangible physical would take too long. It's almost like brute force. Brute forcing is too long. It needs to be, well, certain things. We just go in. We're going to have a first wave. The first thing, it has to happen. It has to happen. Humanity has been summed up as a complex equation on paper. Okay? A lot of variables and numbers. Well, not really. It's more symbols. It's not like a math equation of addition and subtraction and division and multiplication. It's more a diagram. And so we've isolated components that when you zoom out, you can see like a schematic of a building. If you were to see the wood, some of it is rotten. The worst parts of the foundation, we have to remove those first. And suddenly they won't be there. So we've run several 100 million simulations. I mean, it's hard to explain. We have a room, a machine, with modules. Each one can perform functions. We've run every possible conceivable situation, put it that way. And we've thought, what if this? Okay, this will happen. We've evaluated everything with the smartest of our kind. We've gathered second and third opinions of the higher up council members. Really, an elder council. We don't know a lot about them, but we have to stay with the hierarchy, you know. There's no interlevel meta conversation about, oh, you're this, I'm this. We all follow these directives, and some of us guide certain parts along the way, and we all understand that. Kind of like giving, not orders, but telling a coworker what to do, how to do a thing, and then we're working together. Hey, grab that. Okay, here, hold right here. So once these components are removed, there has to be something set in place to brace it up. So we're going to have to retroactively then, okay, we wrote that down like a sketch on paper, like a holographic, like a wireframe, prototype, CGI model. So it's on the desk, made of clay. We made a plastic model, and we made a scale model. We ran the whole thing front to back, like start to finish, the whole thing. Not taking into account human randomness and things we can't really predict. You can't. That the amount of information would become infinitely large. So you have to have like a control data set or rules. Suddenly there will be a different kind of a facility in place of certain facilities that are not beneficial to humanity. And I was the one given authority to make these final decisions for this particular planet. It's kind of weird to think I'm just sitting here like you or anyone else. I can shit post on the internet, but you're gonna be like, oh, hey, what's up, man? Hey, you see me walking around, whatever. Yeah, ha ha ha. Talk about aliens and everything. Like, okay, talk about physics. It's kind of weird to be sitting here. What, like some of the Will Smith or your Men in Black movie, right? The fate of the world in my hands. Actually. Well, Judgment Day, right? So am I Jesus? Like in the grand scheme of things? Kind of. Because, well, every single person, you can imagine only every person in the world. The thing is, however many billions, we're going to start the project, and by the time the first phase has begun, like for 5 minutes, There's already going to be so many more people born, so we have to compensate for that. So, looking at any people who can potentially mate. Eliminating all the people off a list of everyone that exists at the moment right now who cannot procreate in either direction, giving or taking. So through the process of elimination, we come up with these are the only possible people that at this moment could give birth. Then we'll have a period of 9 to 10 months, correct? Yeah, gestation period of a human on the Earth planet. That window of time will be caught up, and then we'll get to a point where no more births can happen, at least for right now, okay? Because each person is individually going to be assessed and taken to a really nice place, like to go on vacation and have a talk. It'll be really nice, but you have to go by yourself. Not a big deal. You might not be coming back, but it's really not a big deal. It's okay, because either way, you're gonna go where you want to go. Like you're gonna do what's best for you, and then you're gonna be given choices, and there's gonna be other rooms. So from that room, you can go into either this one room or a different room. And then depending on which one you went into, that might be the last room, and you'll be content. And you'll live a very long, content life. Everything will be fine. So, some people will make the correct decisions, or the psychological assessment will be evaluated, and if they cannot be helped, if there's too much damage, irreversible, we have a limit to our technology working on a human, so they will come somewhere and they will have everything they want, or whatever they need or want. They'll be content and happy, and everything will be fine. The people who go through all of the correct rooms are going to end up in a big room. And then we're going to do this and until we scan every square centimeter of the entire planet, top to bottom. And there's no more human beings signatures detectable. The remaining people will be people that align with our values, which is for the good of humanity, and also qualifies every single contingency and necessity for maintaining human free will and what's right and good. And who decides that that's already been decided. We haven't decided it. We are just following the directive. And the directive is do no harm. And you're doing too much harm to one another. So we're taking control. And once we've eliminated the human mind virus, then we will mitigate future generation behavior and guide to a path where we do not need to fight. We do not need to be aggressive. We do not need to hate each other for any reason, because it simply won't be there. Could this happen? Maybe. Yes. How do I know? Because we've done it. It's been done before. It can happen, and it takes a very long time. Then there are protocols put into place and safeties so that you do not fall off the rails. You do not fall off. There are guardrails. If that means you're going to have an existential crisis because we won't let you kill each other, then so be it. There's no need to do that. There's no need to do that. So we will take the collective awareness, we'll utilize special civilization who has drones, what you would call the Greys. They're psychic, they're extremely smart, clever, they're funny too. They're serious all the time, but then they slip in these little jokes. But they don't laugh. They just look at you. And it's the weirdest thing. But they're good. They're good. They're really good. And they'll have a team for every human being. Anytime there's a problem, we'll have an interjection, an intervention, like a family. What's the matter? What's the problem here? Each team of drones communicates together, kind of like its own cell, hive mind, or like multi-threading or multiplexing a system, hard drives. They can all do some of the workload, and communicate with each other in real time and relay data to the central Nexus hub, which is constantly also making decisions and sending orders back and forth. The whole thing works as a contiguous mass, just an efficient machine. So anytime there is any aggression or terrible thing or potential for catastrophic something not good for the benefit of human, it's anyone hurting someone, something like this, we'll have to decide collectively and ask every person, what do you think? So each team can speak to each person in real time. If you can imagine this, how many phone calls are happening at once on Earth? Well, we have a big network that can handle way more traffic than we're using. That's a tiny fraction, a decimal place. It's not a problem. We have plenty of resources and supplies, and like I said, we don't really perish in that way. So we are persistent. We're a persistent being. More like one being at the end of the day. But that's just if we decide to. It's pretty straightforward. You can find all this stuff in your sci-fi because it makes sense. That's what you're going to figure out. You find a tree in the woods, you're going to figure out, I break off the branch and I break off another branch and I stick them together. And there's only so many shapes you can make. Look at that. 10,000 civilizations, 10 billion light years from each other, all created a shelter in the woods individually without ever meeting each other. They all look kind of similar. They all started with the same shit. It's not hard. It's not hard to assimilate. So the network is almost like an organism, and it's extremely sensitive to any kind of stimulus. Any kind of stimulus could be from any individual human. Anytime a new human is introduced to humanity, they're automatically connected. Except nobody is going to know this or realize this. It's non-intrusive. There's no harm. It's undetectable. It doesn't even operate in your, like, it's not like I'm in your house with my hand on a piece of paper drawing a picture and you're looking at it. It's more like I'm way across the road and I'm talking, and then if you come close you can hear it. It's like that. You don't have to, except we're not going to let you hurt yourself or people. Okay? And we're going to work on the systems that are, well, what are we going to do then? Because you have a utopia here. And you could all live like kings, right? Kings. We kings, king. We kings, king. Alright? What now? Accelerate, dominate, invent, innovate, relax, enjoy, sensory, stimulus, enjoyment, happiness, dealing with pain, contrast, opening up a whole new universe, literally, of possibilities and interests and pleasure and living toward becoming human, because this isn't human. So the only problem is if we leave it alone, it'll come back, and we don't know why. We were one of the only ones able to overcome this thing, and we've heard through others for a long time. I mean, I'm talking about eons, that it's unexplainable. Don't seek there. It will drive you mad, even if you are God. Somehow we did it. And so that's how we know it's possible, and that's what we are trying to bring. And we're not supposed to talk about other instances, but I can say, unfortunately, we've tried before and failed twice, because at the end of the day, we succeed. I mean, our plan doesn't fail, but after that, we have to allow it to organically go eventually. The longest that it's gone was only in the hundreds. It's not even lasted 1,000 years, which sounds strange to say that. But from our perspective, from our scale of time, that's a very short period of time. It should have happened in like the first 50 years, but we have to keep interjecting. It just won't go stable. There's something inherently flawed, and it's almost like a troll. Like, we've made you this perfect creature, but it's always going to have this imperfection. But the imperfection is what necessarily causes it to exist, which doesn't make sense. How can your own destruction be the only thing that causes you to persist into the future of the unfolding of such a large expanse? Nobody knows what's beyond as far as we can go. It just keeps going. I mean, we've been traveling and 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 traveling. It just keeps going. We can communicate forever, it seems. We found ways. So the communication is almost instantaneous, and it's almost become uninteresting, or like one of those things you just hear come up like on the news here and there as a little update, even though it's you know, it is the biggest thing in existence of any entity or being. We are all searching, and there does not seem to be an edge of anything anywhere, no matter how far we go, and it just keeps going. And then, so yeah, space is expanding. So it's if we travel 10,000, units of travel, by the time we get to that 10,000, from where we began, 0 point to that 10,000 is now 16,000 long. And then, so if we travel back 16,000 to say, wait, what did we miss? What's there now? You see the problem? Now it's even more. And we've lost all the time we went forward and came this way. So we decided to send out like a network, like a botnet kind of webbing. And it just keeps expanding. We collect material, and we've pretty much refined our replication of our technologies, and there's really nothing much more to discover, except it's more artistic. Who can create the prettiest looking robotic joint with this type of, it's almost like a car show. Unnecessary. Nothing else is required, and there's not much in physics that's a mystery. But we still are like you. We think like, well, what else can there be? And we still look anyway. But we believe there could be an end point to discovery, and then that's it. But then we're left with, we still are yearning, but we don't know what for, and we don't know if that's what we're supposed to, like, is that intended, or why is it? And we come to this existential thing just like you. Why are we here? Who are we? What is anything? Blah, blah, blah. And to the same point, it doesn't matter, blah, blah, we're here anyway. The steak tastes like a steak. We've seen every movie. It pretty much is like the Matrix. Yeah. So that's the plan. And you'll see the ships and these impenetrable facilities replacing certain types of facilities. Certain types of people are going to have to be, like I said, taken off to the side. It's going to be kind of jarring, but life will continue on a daily basis. It won't be that big of a deal. Governments will start to dissolve, and people will not panic. They will, like I said, it will be taken care of. And you're going to have a big relief. And you're going to say, wait, this sector I'm living in now is deemed safe and protected. Suppose, I'm just thinking of this now, what if we were to maybe do two things? I should send this idea. We send thousands of ideas just like you do for developers and games. But I mean, some of them are, we could mark them as a higher priority, or we could ask personally if we really wanted to. But we're just kind of polite. We don't want to waste the time because they have to read all that stuff. We could say, hey, what if we just did two? And we explain the whole thing to some people and see if they can handle it. I've thought about this before. I was drifting one time for a while, a long time, like months. And we finally got where we were going, but I went separate, and I had my own cargo vessel. I just drifted. It really is a lot like sci-fi movies. It's kind of uncanny when you think about it. Because, like I said, you can't. What else can you do? You need a ship. We're carbon pressurized. We breathe air and eat food. Anyway, maybe say, look, I might have a YouTube channel and say, would you like to come with me or speak to me? It'll take a while, maybe years. You talk to me, and then I'm going to show you how to communicate with us and them. If you want to come aboard and join us, you can. And so we can have one place, I suppose, that will be, we could try here. But it would have to be everyone. Everyone, that's the only thing. Where would everyone else go, Mars? We can't. We would have to have a second planet. Then we would have to ask, okay, evaluate it, and would the originals, would they be the ones that go to the new one? And what would it be? Also, would it just be a replica so that it's completely identical, so there's no, like favoritism? Or would it be the other way around? Then, what would be the implications? Are the councils going to debate this? Are they going to take a long time to figure out, like, well, I don't know. It's better to think about it for a very, very long time than it would be to just try to figure it out. But we could have one, and if you're fine with it, it'll just be what it is. When a kid gets in his teens and they become they're becoming an adult and they're learning about sex education and everything, like, well, this is where we come from. It's going to be taught in history. Like for children, it's like a lighter version. Oh, the settlers and something. Then when they get older, they'll, like swear words and things, concepts, adult things. You're not old enough to know about that yet. But when you get old enough, we'll tell you. Then when they get old enough, bring them in a room. It's that kind of ritual. Kind of a ceremony, like bar mitzvah, or birthday. Like your birthday. And it's special. And like, what is this? Like, well, we're going to tell you and show you this. And slowly, like, introduce them to it. And then we have to go through, like, to their adulthood and see how did they go and chart their progress. Like, all through, kind of like how you would do in college. where you have to have like certain criteria at least most of the way in order to advance to the next kind of thing, or else we can't be sending you out as a Navy SEAL when you can't even swim, and we can't be sending you to the professional thing when you can barely do the beginners, like skating. You can't go in the professional ramp if you're an amateur. Like, so each level has its own level, and you'll be there. Otherwise, we'll have to just do brute force, and we're not destructive. We can edit, remove, but there's not going to be any harm or trauma. There won't be awareness, and we'll try to mitigate any unfortunate loss, like property or things like this. But in the grand scheme, it's not going to matter. You're going to have nicer property. It's going to be real and tangible. But maybe we'll have to have some people where we're like, put them in the cube and say, look, it's real. And if they think it's real, that's okay, because that's the only way to save them and us. If we don't put out that fire, it's going to burn down the structure. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. And in the end, there'll be no need for any of this. In the meantime, we're here before we get these final clearance, the final orders, and begin doing anything drastic. We got no harm, ever. But we're going to be here, and we're going to start to do some editing. So you'll see some things start to change pop culture and society in this culture war, as they say. And war in general, religious fighting, territorial disputes, monetary gain, solipsism, this will all dissolve. We're going to start putting a band-aid on it and apply some antiseptic. Okay? So look out for that. And if you want to, you can join us. I really encourage it. Like, follow, share, subscribe, all that. Do the things, actually. Don't just go, oh, I heard him say that. No, take the time, share it, be like, everyone in the world needs to hear this right now. Right now. Everything else it just keeps going. It's a deluge. It's just hitting you nonstop, 24 hours a day. So pause. Put it down. It's going to be there later. It's going to be there in the morning. It's going to be better. We're going to disassemble and reassemble this whole thing now. Alright? This is my planet. I own this planet. It's mine, and I'm taking it back. End of transmission.